I don't think they
I don't know
want
what's going on. They don't want us to talk about it. The
to.
Drake ops. The Drake ops.
Oh, snaps. All right, I think I got to go. You want to do this one over under real quick?
Yeah.
um, over under 10 wins for Kansas City in 2025.
It's 17 games. I go over. But I'm going like I might push.
Yeah.
I might go 10. Like if it isn't over, I'm thinking like literally 11.
Yeah.
I really feel like they take a step back, man.
That's fair.
Because like you said, you're not winning all of those close games 2 years in a row. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. So their expected win loss was 10-7. As so that
Okay.
was about what I thought.
But
It
that's how
would
they
be.
looked all year.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking 10-7, but it's just, yeah, that sounds about right, bro.
So the thing with like the thing with football, NFL, college football, whatever, is like when you're making these prognostications, you always kind of have to look at the schedule. So my initial reaction is under. Like this screams huge regression to the mean,
I wasn't looking at it. So
slight rebuilding year, 8, 9 wins. Like I would go under. I'm like, this screams 8, 9, 9-8. A little bit of a revamp before they come back in 26 with 10, 11, 12 wins. But it's like, okay, I look at their schedule. I don't see 8 losses.
yeah.
Broncos twice, Raiders twice, Chargers twice. Okay, full
And
story.
so that alone,
You know, like,
you're going to be 5-1.
like go be 5-1. And like you're playing the Bengals, Browns, and Steelers 6 times. Um, you know
And who was their division? I was just
the
about to ask.
AFC South.
Oh, I knew you were about to say that. So you
So
got Jacksonville. You have Jacksonville, Tennessee. Come on, man. So that's
you won't,
7 wins right there.
and then you won't believe their intra conference, the
Hold
NFC
on,
East.
hold on. See what I'm saying?
So
So that alone is 10 wins,
that's 10
just
wins,
because you're just a better organization than those teams.
100%, and you got 15. Uh, so and then they play two teams from the AFC North. I'm pretty sure one of those would be the Ravens because they both won the division, and then they'll add the Bills
Absolutely,
obviously because the Bills won the division.
they should.
And then the NFC North would be the Lions. So there's a little bit of a difficult schedule in there, but like
It
between
is.
between the division and then the AFC South, I mean, you already got 9 wins right there. I mean,
Exactly, bro.
it's
Exactly.
unfair. It's unfair.
It is what
They're
it
gonna have a
is.
down year, and they're still gonna go 10-7, 11-6. It's fine.
Yep. And then we're gonna get to the postseason. Well, Kansas City has struggled, but you know how they are in the playoffs. You're gonna hear that talk.
Go hear that talk until they go to Cincinnati and get blown out.
Right.
But it's all good. I'm really high on the Bengals next year. I don't know why. We'll see if that changes over the offseason.
I can't remember the DC they just hired. Dang, who did they just hire? But when I saw it, I was like, you know what?
Al Golden.
Al Golden. I like it. I
I like
like
that.
it.
I like that
I,
hire, and I
I
hate it.
like the hire for them, but I hate it.
Yeah, he's gonna get that organ. I'm pretty high on the Bengals. I'm not gonna go as far as to say I picked the Ravens to make the Super Bowl 2 years in a row.
Well, it depends if they, bring back T. Higgins.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
if you don't bring back T. Higgins, but you get another wide receiver, that's still not T. Higgins.
right.
T is a matchup nightmare. Jamar
You
Chase
need a
is a
combination.
matchup.
Yeah,
Like, see what
size,
I'm
the
saying?
speed. Yeah,
Yeah, you have to get that same type of guy, and you're not going to have that guy in year 5. So it's different.
it's different. And Cincinnati gets to play a third place schedule, which in that division can be the difference. If you don't have to play Kansas City and Buffalo, and you get to play the Raiders and the Jets instead, I mean that's a pretty significant advantage in the AFC North.
Mhm.
Hey, we'll be back next week, man. Talk a little bit more about the offseason, get you ready for the draft, all that good stuff. Chip.
Always do this.
And I'd be like, damn, that would have been a nice little intro. Stop being humble. It's the
Literally,
is the
it's overrated.
is the takeaway. It's overrated. Don't get you no points. I think it honestly takes away from what you're trying to accomplish too. Like I don't know. Ever since I started waking up, like yeah, I'm that nigga. It's just like life is just taking off. It's been amazing. So,
Like I truly don't know how does Jalen Hurts do it?
bruh, I have no idea,
I, that guy's different. Like you doubted me. I've been through all of this,
bruh,
and I'm giving you like he be dropping some quotes.
bruh,
Like if you just look at Jalen Hurts quotes, you could just post them in locker rooms,
man.
and he just is even keel like all the time, all the time. I want to see him get mad.
Right. Me too. I have
Like,
never seen it.
I know his fiance. They're not. I don't think they're married yet. His kids, like somebody upsets him,
Yeah.
but it doesn't seem like.
I love it, man. Actually I seen there's a video of like his response to Trump coming to the Super Bowl as opposed to Patrick Mahomes. So Mahomes waxed poetic. Oh,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's really special. I heard he watches my games and to have somebody like that in the bill, like blah blah, just going on because he's a MAGA person,
Yeah.
whether he wants to admit it or not. If your mama and your wife MAGA, you MAGA. Like I just can't believe the person that raised you and the woman you chose to share a bed with are hyper MAGA
Yeah,
people and you somehow aren't. Like I know you want to protect your money and I get it. That's what's up, man. But like Mahomes is a Trump guy until I hear otherwise. Period. Like uh,
absolutely.
and Jalen's response is just like he can do what he wants.
I love it. He's essentially saying, "I do not care"
like,
without saying those
like,
words.
why do I care that the president gonna be at the Super Bowl? It's a Super Bowl, man.
Why?
I
This
wouldn't care
is
if it was Obama, and I like Obama. Like, we don't care that they had the Super Bowl.
like who cares? I
What?
don't care who's in this. The people in the stands don't matter.
They,
Those 22 on the field.
and
That's
100
it.
by 50, coach. That's all that matters. Like,
That's it. That's it.
it's crazy. That's what my football coach is because all the women and the children in the stands. Because the men out here on this field. I know we're not supposed to say that. Sorry. We got it's more than two genders and so on and so forth. All right, I'm getting mad controversial before I need to get
Yeah. You
controversy.
going there?
I'm going there with all this stuff, man. That's a different episode though. Hey, we're gonna talk about Super Bowl 59 game takeaways. Look, I the game was it was a dud. It was the worst and most boring Super Bowl since the last time the Chiefs got mollywopped in the Super
Yeah.
Bowl. That one was to Tampa, but they all can't be good or entertaining. So, I mean, actually, like the past decade and a half, we've had some solid Super Bowl. I mean, there was a time where like Super Bowls were mostly blowouts. I mean, the '80s are really
Yeah.
famous for late '70s, early '80s, are really famous for a lot of blowouts. The Raiders whopped the Eagles. The Broncos got destroyed by I think that was San Francisco 55-10. So anyway, we've had a good stretch of good Super Bowls. Not this year. Kansas City saved face at the end with those two garbage time touchdowns, which I guess does a lot for you historically, right? Because when you look at Super Bowl 59 20 years from now, you see 40-22. If you weren't
Yeah.
there, it seems better.
It wasn't that.
40-6 is the accurate sort of like, yeah, like that's how far apart the game was.
I was kind of upset that they scored those too late.
I was too. I wanted it to
Not
be
gonna lie.
disgusting. Like 40-6 was
Yeah,
like beautiful. 40 to
it was
22 was
beautiful.
like, all right. They got whooped, but it's
Yeah.
like, but I get it. At that point you turn it off. Philly's like, all right, we about to be world champs. Totally fine. I don't know. I'm not gonna we I think we were quite literally the only I'm not being hyperbolic. I think we were the only people who like talk about football and know a little bit about football who were like, yeah,
Yeah.
there's the Chiefs voodoo, but I'm taking the Eagles. Like
Yeah.
I couldn't. I surfaced through like a bunch of videos, podcasts from the Ringer, Athletic, is blah blah blah, and like there was this whole like, yeah, the Eagles are better on paper, but the Chiefs magic, and I get it, but I think we both had spines to be like, nah, like the Chiefs got the
Yeah.
voodoo, but Philly's better and they should win. I think we both picked Philly. Um, did not pick the score. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
say I expected a blowout. However, the only reason I did not predict a blowout is because of the Chiefs voodoo, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
Like
No,
Philly
yeah.
was that
Yeah.
much better on paper than Kansas City a week ago, right?
Mhm.
So I think just like the myth or the well, that ain't no myth
It's
anymore.
it's it's literally the voodoo.
The voodoo of the
The
Chiefs
Kansas City voodoo.
So,
I think the biggest takeaway is we know football. I think that's the biggest takeaway.
that's
Like literally, I text you. I don't remember. Maybe second quarter, halftime. I don't know. But I was like, bro, everything that's happening, we literally talked
we
about.
literally talked about. Like,
Like you said, you and I had. We didn't have the scores right. Who predicts like that? Like nobody predicts a blowout loss in the
yeah,
Super Bowl. Like, am I surprised? No. If Kansas City would have blown out Philly, I would have been
that would have been
surprised.
surprising.
Kansas City beating Philly wouldn't have been surprised just because, like I said, the voodoo. But the team with the better trenches won
Yeah.
on both sides. Like it wasn't just KC's offensive line against Philly's defensive line. I remember
Hmm.
that was my matchup. I'm like, look, they're clearly better. And as good as Tooney was going from guard to tackle, you're not you're a guard for a reason.
For a reason.
The tackles are more athletic. They have better side to side ability. Not as strong, but they use their hands a little bit better. Just because you have to, you're going against these elite edge rushers.
Hmm.
And Josh Sweat isn't even elite, but his speed was able to just it was Tooney had no shot.
Nope.
Like none of them had a
And it's not
shot,
his
but
fault.
it's not. It's literally genetics. Now, could they scheme around it? Yes. Now, I will say another key takeaway: Kansas City didn't try to run the ball.
No.
So if like watching the game, you know, it's been a few days. It's just back on it. You would think, um, Philly had, I think, Saquon rushed the ball like 22, 25 times. Kansas City averaged more per rush. They just didn't run the ball a lot.
Yeah.
So you essentially said, "Oh, we're abandoning the run." That Philly already they only want to rush four, but you never kept them honest. So you not attempting to get a rhythm running the ball allowed those defensive ends and that entire D line to just tee off. Because at the very least, Jalen wasn't really pressured a lot.
Oh,
But
he had so much
because
time.
they kept running the ball, they
Yeah.
weren't successful. But Kellen Moore knew what he was doing. Like, look, man, this is gonna be a long night for Saquon, but we still have to keep running it
Hmm.
to keep him honest. Um, when they sent six, Hurts felt the pressure. He had to get the ball out pretty quickly, but seemed like he had an answer for it. He had a few bad throws. I remember the fade back shoulder attempt um, to AJ Brown before halftime. It was incomplete, but then that's when Patrick Mahomes threw the interception the next drive, and then AJ Brown ended up scoring anyway.
Hmm.
So it's just Kansas City, their whole game plan, which this is what I don't understand. Their game plan was to get the ball downfield.
Yeah.
Philly's secondary was the best at not allowing big plays.
Yeah.
So I didn't understand why they didn't try to run the ball more, try to run more quick game because they weren't going to have time. So this is the first time I believe this is the first time in a long time Andy Reid got out coached.
I'm gonna take that a
So
step further.
that's the most surprising part of that game to me.
Yeah. No, 100%. I'm gonna take it a step further. All this talk that I was hearing beforehand about how Matt Nagy is a genius and how Matt Nagy should be interviewing for offensive coordinator roles. Anybody who's saying that, I want you to roll back the tape of Super Bowl 59. Okay, that was an abysmal game plan and an abysmal play calling performance. Um,
Yeah,
and at a certain point, right? Like, I think Sirianni ran circles around Andy Reid. I think Spags just ran up against a formidable opponent. Like I think we're
yeah,
finally at the point to where maybe we can stop giving these coordinators so much credit. Like now, I think Steve Spagnuolo is one of the greatest defensive coordinators of all time. Head,
yeah,
head coach, different story. I don't know why we always coordinate or correlate being great coordinator with head coach skills. They take two totally different skill sets, different conversation. But I think that was a master class in a defensive coordinator, just really, taking another coordinator, putting them over the knee and just spanking them. And that's what Vic Fangio did to Matt Nagy the entire night.
Yeah.
The game plan was just on a different level. And I mean, obviously the guys on the field matter. They have to go out there and execute it. Saquon Barkley carried the ball 25 times for 57 yards. Kansas City only ran the ball 11 times. Um, it was only 7-0 after the first quarter. So it's not as if you just abandoned the run, right?
You
And
never tried.
you never tried. And to that tune, you won the toss and you deferred. So from the beginning, I don't necessarily, like you said, the game plan was for them to stretch the field and go deep. I don't know why they ever thought they were going to be successful doing that against that front seven of Philadelphia. Like I walk away from this
Mhm.
puzzle with like, what the hell that coaching staff was doing for 2 weeks. Um,
Yeah.
and that hasn't been much of a conversation. And we can say Mahomes played poorly, and he did. He got outclassed by Jalen Hurts. But even as much as I enjoyed watching Patrick Mahomes get obliterated. Don't worry, we're gonna talk about
I
that
did. I
more.
did.
Um, but to me, I'm looking at this coaching staff. Like, were y'all spending too much time negotiating a three-peat deal with Pat Riley? Like, did you think it was already in the bag? Like, y'all clearly showed up there at 6:40 on Sunday and was just like, "Yeah, we're the Chiefs. We're gonna win." Like, otherwise,
That's what it looked like.
I can't understand what they were doing for 2 weeks, what they were scheming. If they were looking at the same front seven that we all looked at in the entire season and the weeks before, um, and I think it's like a microcosm in the why it's so hard to win three in a row and why no one has ever done
Mhm.
that in the Super Bowl era. Because I don't care. Like that coaching staff took its foot off the gas. I
Mhm.
think they probably started to feel themselves. There's no way you go out there and look at that Philadelphia front seven. Okay, hey, we're gonna run the ball. We're gonna run the ball a little bit. We're gonna try to go deep. We're gonna try to get Xavier Worthy and downfield and Travis Kelsey over the middle. When you know you got Joe Thuney playing left tackle, like
Yeah.
I, so for me, the biggest thing is what last time they did this, they went out, they revamped the offensive line in the offseason,
Mhm. Yeah.
uh, and did
And they
everything
came
right
back and won.
from A to Z, came back and won. This time seems a little bit more complex because I never
Yeah.
watched that Super Bowl against Tampa. It was like these guys just weren't prepared to play. Like
Yeah.
Tampa was just
Yeah, yeah,
better.
yeah.
Like
Uh-huh.
I don't remember
Mhm.
the play. I think it was on their first series and maybe the second series. I have to look at it again. Um, where Mahomes dropped back, started running for his life. I can't. I'm gonna have to go back and look. But on the second series of the game, I was like, this game is over.
Yeah.
They can't block anybody up front. And we
Yep.
talked about this. Like that's the one you can't out scheme that. You can go back and watch every game in the history of the NFL. That big of a mismatch on your with your offensive line against the other team's front seven. You can't run away from that. You can't out big play that. You can't out scheme that. You can't out turnover that. Like that is where the game is lost. And if you're that much worse than the team is on the other side of the trenches, you're gonna lose. So it was pretty early on. I was just like, yeah, this game is over. And sometimes that happens. But I never watched the Super Bowl against Tampa and was like, yeah, this team just wasn't prepared. I think they just ran up against a better team.
Yeah.
This time around,
And
I
that
don't.
was it was a Tom Brady magic too.
It was Tom Brady match. It was Tom Brady match. It was his time. This time around, and I
Yeah.
haven't heard a lot of the discourse from other resources or outlets. So maybe you can let me know. But like, I think we kind of letting Andy Reid and Matt Nagy and Steve Spagnuolo off the hook. Like, I don't think this team's ready to play.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything like that. I've heard Dan Orlovsky say Patrick Mahomes played bad. I'm actually surprised he admitted that. But
That's his guy.
that's his guy, you know. But there wasn't a lot of that, like because the discourse should be, like you said, they got out coached and the offensive line got whooped and Patrick Mahomes was seeing ghosts. So let's say all of that instead of offensive line played bad. That's why Patrick Mahomes played bad because a lot of those times he just threw the ball to the dirt
Yeah, bad
because he
throws.
felt the pressure before he was there.
Uh huh.
Even the DeAndre Hopkins drop, that was kind of behind it.
He didn't put it on down.
Uh, he did it, and that's the first down. Patrick Mahomes doesn't do that. The first drive, I think kind of he was short with his hand. Well, when it's throwing motion and the ball hit the dirt. I think that was to Kelsey, and yeah, and the interception. I feel like the tackle got pushed back into him, so maybe that one wasn't on him per se, just because he couldn't actually step into the throw. But and that's what I mean by okay, offensive line is going to get dominated. So okay, offensive staff, how about you scheme something else up? Like you
Yeah, 2
can't
weeks.
threaten them downfield. And the last deep ball to Worthy, that was on the
That's
Bengals.
yeah,
So
that's garbage time.
so yeah, I haven't seen that much discourse. The discourse we're talking about, like what should be talked about. Like, yeah, they won 3 Super Bowls, but they were awful in this Super Bowl. So let's not let that escape. We can't just let that skate by just because they're the Kansas City Chiefs.
If
Another,
oh yeah,
go ahead. I was going to say another thing is I think Kelsey's done, man.
he looked
He looks
washed.
he looked old. He's looked old all year,
Yeah,
but he looked old, man.
yeah,
And even just his his magic has been okay. Patrick Mahomes getting out the pocket and the defenders leaving him,
right,
and he's just wide open.
right.
He's not like he's not routing anybody up anymore.
He ain't Brock Bowers no more.
He's not like he might be gone. And we talked about well, you just mentioned how they look unprepared and last time they looked like this, they revamped the O line. They knew exactly what they needed, and this year is different. You got a 36 going on 36-year-old Kelsey. I'm not worried about Patrick Mahomes
No,
because he's not even 30. So, but you don't have um correct me if I'm wrong. I think DeAndre Hopkins was in the first year of a 2-year deal, so he'll be back. Um, Juju Smith-Schuster, nobody's afraid of him. Xavier
nobody wants
Worthy, he's a deep ball guy,
that.
but
Yeah,
that's it. Hollywood Brown is Hollywood Brown. You got I can't remember the backup tight end's name. I think it's Watson, but um, so you're not your magic is going away because you haven't been able to run the ball well. And Nick Bolton is in a contract year. Justin
hmm
Reid is in a contract year. McDuffie is going to get paid soon.
got to.
That the corner on the upside, Jalen Watson, he's not great. So who knows about Chris Jones? Did he hold out at the beginning of the year?
I know he got paid again.
He did get paid again, but I'm just thinking like cap situation, man. You got to pay some of these key guys who have been a part of these runs. So now it's different. It's different now. Like you got to make decisions. So I don't think it is as easy as we're just going to revamp the O line. It's not.
It's a little more complex. They would go into the offseason with $113,000 in cap space. So they're
Thousand. They got they,
oh,
they got upper middle class salary
right.
for cap space.
So like out of 275 million, they got 113,000. There got to be some restructures here. Patrick Mahomes cap hit
Yeah.
um is his cap number is 66 million. Chris Jones is 28 million. Jawan Taylor is 20
Okay.
million. All right. So you have an inordinate amount of money.
Taylor's awful.
Taylor is awful. That's a bad contract, but we're gonna have plenty of time to get into that. First of all, I'm not paying a right tackle that much money. Like why would I do that? Oh, okay. His cap number is 19 million this year. My bad. Guaranteed salary is 20 million. Okay, so close enough. Um, it's not as simple as it was before.
Yeah.
For the reasons that you said, and sometimes people come back and they're like, okay, well, Rashee Rice was out, he'll be back. That's another weapon. Rashee Rice is a great high end top wide receiver too, but he's not moving the needle in terms of
Yeah.
your team and its revamp and its opportunities or chances to win a Super Bowl. If Rashee Rice is healthy, that score is still 40-22. So
It
you
is.
know, he's not like in his prime Julio Jones. We're not talking about Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase. I'm talking about a great guy who's probably going to be in the league for a decade, who's a high end wide receiver too. So I'm not really interested in hearing that. Um, the offensive line is in shambles. Nick Bolton is probably gone. Somebody's going to pay him quite a bit of money. You got Karlaftis who's walking into a contract year himself. You're going to have to pay him
Mhm.
at some point. Um, what you I'm actually kind of happy they were as good as they were this year. I'm gonna tell you why. They were 15
Okay.
and 2. They won a lot of close games. I think Mahomes has won 17 games in a row against the spread or in games decided by one score or less. I don't know what their expected sort of win loss was. I'm about to look this up. I imagine I'm gonna take a guess before looking at it. I imagine their expected win loss is probably 9 or 10 wins. So I'm sure they outperformed based off that. If
I
they
was thinking 10.5.
if they were a 10 or 11 win team, they probably make changes on the coaching staff. They probably find a new offensive coordinator. I don't want to
Hmm.
tease what we're going to talk about at the end of this. I'm really looking forward that they don't have a choice but to bring Matt Nagy back because now, right? Like we haven't done what we should have done with them the entire year in dissecting just the sheer underperformance that they had the entire season on the offensive side of football. We just didn't talk about it because they just found a way to win. Right? It was the Chiefs voodoo. Whereas if you hadn't won two in a row, if that were anybody else, if it were Philly or Baltimore, whoever, still winning games but turning it out like that, there's a
Hmm.
conversation like, oh, what's wrong with the offense? Or, who's to blame? Why is this not going? But we didn't do that, right? We kept saying they found ways to win. Well, one, you're not going to be that good in one score games 2 years in a row. That's just math. There's going to be regression.
You're not.
Number two, I never thought Matt Nagy was a good offensive coordinator, let alone a good coach. But hey, maybe his father or he know where some bodies are buried. So now you're going to bring that guy back to call and run an offense that was already very unimpressive on top of you having offensive line issues, on top of you only have $113,000 in cap space, on top of your biggest weapon being 35, 36, and just looking like he's totally washed and ready to go do podcasts and travel the world with his pop star girlfriend. This is
Yeah.
not the excuse me, this is not the plug and play sort of revamp that it was a few years ago. But I'm looking forward to seeing just where things go with them from here. You know what's on the end of this, so I won't spoil it. But I'll put it to you this way: Tom went a decade between Super Bowls, and
Hmm.
and that happened for a reason. That's just football.
Yeah.
Between needing to hit on multiple drafts in a row, between bringing in new
Plus, other teams getting better
other teams got better,
and getting over the hump.
right? And like they're sitting there in a conference with Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow.
Yep.
You take
We talked about this a few weeks ago. Like they're bound. Like they're going to. Somebody is going to get over the hump.
one of them gonna get through.
One of those teams, and it may not be because of the quarterback. Like those quarterbacks are great, but it may be Joe Burrow finally getting a defense where
Mhm.
he doesn't have to do it all, and he eventually, gets to the Super, like something like that. It may not just be because, like I said, Patrick Mahomes isn't going to just fall off a cliff,
No.
and but his team, his defense has been so good this year. That's why they were winning
Mhm.
close games. He didn't play great this year,
Nope.
not by his standards. He didn't play bad, but like the same with like Lamar Jackson had the best season of his career, and then against the Bills, the defensive line, who
Just
had been great
disappeared.
since week 10, just decided to
Just
disappear.
disappeared.
Like, and it's like those little things.
Yeah.
Josh Allen, you lose your best receiver, you lose some guys, and then you play out of your mind. Your defense plays well. James Cook plays very well, and you get to the conference championship game. So things like that happens where it doesn't necessarily mean the quarterback will be able to play a lot better than he has.
Mhm.
It's just the front office does their thing, identify their weaknesses. Hey, where do we fail in 2024? How can we improve so when we get to the postseason? Because I expect all of those teams, all of those
Push
quarterbacks
past
to
that.
be in the postseason next year.
Yep.
All right, so how can we help them and not put everything on them? They're going to be special,
Mhm.
but how can we help them? So it's just bound to happen. Now, will he go 10 years without one? I don't think so, but who
Yep.
knows? Because now is much better competition than Tom Brady had during that 10-year stretch. Like as
100%.
far as the court, especially like elite
Yeah.
quarterbacks, he wasn't going through
It was
that.
him and Peyton.
It was him and Peyton and sprinkle in Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
That's it.
like,
That's it.
like Yeah, I like that's the interesting thing. I think that's the most intriguing thing about the AFC. And well, I'm actually like really excited just about like that conference and the future of it because it's not the NFC 1 and 2. Like I know we're always like I'm normally always the person that's we do this thing where teams get closer, they get to a championship game or whatever, and we say, oh, they'll be back, they're close. And the reality is, no, actually most of them never come back or they never get a
Yeah,
chance. But we're the AFC representative in the Super Bowl is just gonna nice rotate between Kansas City, Cincinnati, Buffalo, and Baltimore for probably the next 10 years. And
yeah,
I don't care who comes along. Like because the issue with that is you got four guys who are elite and what have turned into either one of two things: elite organizations, Kansas City
yeah,
and Baltimore, or elite quarterback coach pairings, which we talked about. I still actually don't trust Buffalo or Cincinnati's ownership, but when you got an
yeah,
elite quarterback and an elite coach slash play caller combined, you can overcome some of that. So Sean
yeah,
McDermott and Josh Allen tied to the chest. As long as those two are there, they're in it. Joe Burrow, Zach
yeah,
Taylor. I think I like Zach Taylor more than some other people do. First of all, he called a phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal game in the Super Bowl when they played the Rams until like the last
yeah.
4 minutes. We'll have to dissect that in the offseason. He was in his bag for 55 minutes. And then I don't know what happened. Anyway, different conversation. Um,
Got scared.
yeah, that's what happens. But those four teams are gonna be there. It's just like because who's unless in the next 5, 6 years, there's some kid who just signed his freshman NIL deal who just turns
Yeah,
into the second coming of Tom Brady. Like you got Joe Montana, Dan Marino, Warren Moon, and John Elway in the AFC right now. Like,
yeah,
so
yeah.
good luck. Like, just go ahead and try to change your culture, build a nice stadium. If you think a guy can be a good quarterback down the road, cool. Because like you're not beating Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow and Josh Allen. Like, good luck, right? Finding that.
And then it's like, you're gonna have a CJ Stroud or Justin Herbert upset one of them
They'll break
early
through.
one year, and
Yeah,
that just going and they eliminate somebody. But I truly believe one of those four, like somebody different, it will be in the Super Bowl next year
100%.
out of the AFC.
Yeah. Like if I were a
Like
betting
I
man,
can say two different, and it's just like I was going to say if I'm betting those two or the field, just your I don't know the odds. You just go towards the field because you just never know with these teams.
yeah.
Somebody's going to make the right moves, and you have injuries and things like that. So it's bound to happen.
I mean, I think you're being contrarian for the sake of contrarian's sake. If I say, "Hey, I give you Buffalo, Cincinnati, or Baltimore versus the AFC field in the Super Bowl," I'm taking Buffalo, Cincinnati, or Baltimore. Like,
Absolutely,
period. And I hope it's my team, but like, I
yeah,
I I think Buffalo and Cincinnati got just as good a shot to get to the Super Bowl next year as Baltimore does. Um, Kansas City obviously has a lot of retooling. Interesting for interesting's sake. I don't know if we ever talked about this. You know who I'm really happy didn't make the playoffs. This is a little sidebar. I think Cincinnati would have been in the Super Bowl had they made the play. I can say this now. Um,
no,
because,
no. I with listen, me being excited about them making not making it was me saying, you know what, they can win it all
yeah, and I don't need that in my life.
because no one was stopping that
Nope,
offense. Like it was humming.
they was rolling.
They were
They was
rolling, man.
rolling.
The defense was playing
They
better the
found
last
scheme. Yep,
4 or 5 weeks.
yep.
And I was like, please, Denver. I was so happy Kansas City got that one
I
seed.
know. I know. It saved a life. Because I'm like, they gonna go to Buffalo. They gonna beat Buffalo. They would have beat Buffalo in the
they
first
were
round.
they would have beat Buffalo in the first round, and they would have played Kansas
They would have
City
played
the
Kansas
next
City.
round
They would have gone
because
to
they were the
Kansas City
lowest
and beat
seed.
them. And then they would have came to
Yep.
Baltimore. And I'm okay saying this. We had already beaten them twice. I think they would have beat the Ravens
And
in the
we
AFC title game.
we skated by
Yeah.
twice.
Like,
Now I feel like the reason so Jamar Chase is like AJ Green. If you're a Baltimore fan, you know AJ Green used to always kill Baltimore.
yeah.
Jamar Chase always
He
kills
owns the
Baltimore. It's
Ravens.
just it's just a given. They those two players owns the Ravens,
Yeah.
so they own the Ravens. So it's just that's a given. He's going to have 150, 175. And then as soon as you double him, oh, here comes 6'5" on the other side, number 5, wide open. He doesn't have to be wide open. Just throw it up 8 feet in
And
the
he'll
air.
catch it.
So and he'll catch it. So it's just they're a matchup nightmare. But because their defense was so bad early, it's just it took them out, man. So yeah, man, I feel confident that they would have gotten to the Super Bowl. Now I feel like still the Eagles would have been a bad matchup for them
Oh, 100%.
just because of the interior, but I truly feel like they would have gotten to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
But now I would have rather I'm lying, never mind. I'm lying
Yeah.
because Baltimore is supposed to beat Buffalo, and I truly believe Baltimore would have beat Kansas City.
I don't even think that's up for debate at this point. Like we this was on here, so I'm just gonna go to it. Like, who were the biggest
Okay,
losers besides we'll talk about the main two. You know, those are I was like, who's the unconventional loser of Super Bowl 59? I think it's the Ravens. And that's not because we're Ravens fans. I think I heard another publication say this. It's like, yeah, like
this was their shot.
this was their shot. Like very similar play styles to Philly. Like the game that they played in Baltimore, Philly just outclassed them in sort of the same
They did.
sort of areas. But like Baltimore would have done that same thing to Kansas City,
Yeah.
which is why it was so depressing to see them just not come out with a sense of urgency against Buffalo, because it was like that's
Yep.
the game you just needed to have, and you had it, and then you let it slip away. I think Baltimore is the biggest loser in this because like now 2 years in a row on paper you've been the
You're
better
better.
team. You hosted the AFC title game the 1 year. You should have won. Even with all the mistakes, if Zay doesn't fumble at the 1 yard line, Baltimore wins that game. All right. That's last year. And then this year, well, Mark Andrews just decided to turn into, Billy Cundiff and Lee Evans. And so, it's sort of that back to back thing. I think they got to be kicking themselves in the foot. We'll talk about this later. We got a long off season to get into it. But they go into next year like with you can't make wholesale changes, but they go into next year with like, yo, we gotta win a Super Bowl, or
Yeah.
something big has to happen here, and you're not getting rid of Lamar. So the other
Mm-mm.
something big, I'm telegraphing, but the other something big has to be
Listen, I get it. And could I see so both of those we talked about the Harbaugh and Tomlin thing. Um, I don't think Harbaugh coaches anywhere else if it's not Baltimore.
yeah,
Like I can see, hey, we're gonna have a new coach, but Harbaugh, you're gonna stay within the
yeah.
organization. I I just don't see it because they don't want to fire him. I know they want to say like, you know what, we need to change something because we can't have these great regular seasons
Historical
and
regular
just
season.
and continue to fall short.
Yeah,
And it's not like falling short. It's not just falling short, like not getting to the Super Bowl. It's when it's all on the line, we play different. That's the problem.
hmm
Because if you play like you play during the regular season and the team just beats you, listen, I can live with
it's
that.
cool.
But just the sour taste in our mouth is just, you know what? Mark Andrews doesn't fumble, and he doesn't drop passes. Like things like that. And Lamar, you threw 4 interceptions throughout the whole year. You threw one. So, that's just I wasn't tripping about that, but it's like, okay, Lamar, you make plays all the time and you escape. Even the one with the against the Cincinnati Bengals looks just like the
The
fumble
fumble.
he had
Yeah,
against Buffalo. He just didn't fumble the ball.
yeah,
So in my mind, it's like, okay, this is what you do, so you got to live with those things. But it's the other mistakes, and it wasn't this time. This time it wasn't. Oh, we didn't, run the ball more. It wasn't that because they ran the ball well.
yeah.
It was just at the key moments, just made mistakes. 3 turnovers against 0.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we're gonna dive into
yeah,
each team. That Baltimore episode will probably be 2.5 hours long in the off season for sure. But it is a standpoint of just something like, look, yeah, this offseason, a sense of urgency. And even this is why like the NFL is, I think this is one of the reasons why the NFL is king, is that you living and dying with your team every Sunday because it quite
Yeah,
literally matters. Like if Kyle
yeah.
Hamilton doesn't drop that pick against Cleveland, that game is at home
They're the
against
one
Buffalo.
seed.
And that, you know what I mean? Like, so and I think like this is the big difference between
Yep.
like a Philly and a Baltimore, to be honest, is that like Philadelphia has prioritized grabbing certain kind of playmaker on the front seven
Mhm.
precisely for games like that divisional game against the Rams,
Yep.
precisely for first round games like Green Bay. Like, no, we're not going to sit here and ask our all world quarterback to do everything. In
Yeah.
fact, we're going to grab guys who may have some deficiencies, might not be the fastest, might not have the best technique, but they do one or two things really well to make big plays and get us over the hump. If that makes sense. When Philly needed a stop against LA, they got to stop. And that defense was tired, but they got to stop. And what I think what both honestly, this is the AFC picture. What Buffalo
Yeah.
and Baltimore and Cincinnati have to figure out is on the margins, because that's where all this lives right now. Y'all are Super Bowl contenders, and you're going to be Super Bowl contenders as long as you got those three guys at quarterback. Where can we
Hmm.
get better to make big plays when we need them the most? Because if Baltimore had an all world rusher, he probably makes a sack against Buffalo, and that wins the
Yeah.
game. Like people are always like, "Oh, why
Yeah.
is sack such a big deal?" Well, I think Trey Hendrickson had what 17 and a half. They changed the whole
17 and a half.
freaking game.
It,
When you
it
go
did.
from 3rd and 2 to 3rd and 19, that is a complete game changer. Like
It
you get
is.
off the field, you get the ball back, like that, and Buffalo didn't have that. Baltimore didn't have that. Cincinnati is just
Mm-mm.
so bad in the secondary that they can't quite align what they've got up front in Hendrickson and Hubbard. But um, anyway, it's gonna be interesting. Let me flip that. We're gonna have plenty of time to talk about the Ravens and these other teams in the offseason. I'm kind of looking forward to offseason conference. I haven't been excited about an offseason like this in quite a while.
In a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because I think I maybe take a break from football for a few years. I was just like, a lot's going on. I mean, I never stopped watching the Ravens, but
Yeah.
a lot's going on. But like this is not a very good draft, but I'm still pretty excited about it. I'm gonna take a little bit of detour. I'm sorry. And then we're gonna talk about the two biggest losers from the Super Bowl. Have you seen this discourse about Jackson Dart apparently being quarter QB2? And who started this?
Seen it. I seen
Who
it.
and not
I will. You know what? I will. Who is three?
I mean Dart can be three.
Okay.
These people I saw I think it might be McShay who's like
I think
QB2,
so.
Jackson Dart or Shedeur Sanders. First of all, Shedeur Sanders is QB1. And here's the thing, and like this is what I be telling you people about, and your subtle racism is a strong word. You're biased
I know. I know.
because there's no way in hell if Shedeur Sanders is Sam Maxwell that he's not a by far franchise quarterback QB1. Now I will give people a break there, and like some of that is his dad. I do understand that, right?
It
People
is.
might not like the brashness and the flashiness, so I'm not going to go all the way to the race card. I will provide that there's a caveat out of here. But to me, this isn't
Yeah.
close. Shador is QB1, and it ain't close between him and Cam. And we talked about this a few weeks ago. I like Cam's intangibles way better. I think he's a harder worker. I like his ability and the expectation that he might have walking into a locker room to like be a leader and command young men. But when you look at the throws, the accuracy, the ability to escape out the pocket, to make pinpoint accuracy throws on your feet, to sell the play action, to get the ball downfield. Shador's QB1 by a mile. Maybe I'm missing something. Please tell me if I'm wrong. I'm happy to hear it.
No. No. So I feel the same, bro. I just got a really good text. I'm gonna send it to you.
Hey,
Like really good. But yeah, Shador's always been my QB1. And I like Cam too. I do like Cam. Both of them have their Cam had the privilege of playing for or behind a really good offensive line.
yeah,
Shador didn't have a great offensive line, so he extended plays a lot. So I'm interested to see listen, if you're going top one, two, three, you're going to a bad team. That bad team probably had a bad offensive line.
100%.
So honestly, first year, Shedeur probably gonna get sacked like 40
It's gonna be
times.
bad.
And it's gonna be a combination of him not having a good offensive line and him trying to just make a play, similar to college.
Yeah.
Year two, I'm expecting, you know what? Whoever he is drafted by, hey, we're gonna get a first round offensive tackle guard, whatever you need. So the first year is going to be a wash to me. You're going to see spectacular plays, but you're going to see the potential. But they're going to get sacked a lot because Cam held the ball a lot too.
Hmm.
Side note, you remember? Like, listen, we know football. I flew out to Arizona, and guess who we watched?
Oh snap!
Cam Ward
He did.
against Arizona State, and we're sitting in the stands, and I'm thinking, this guy is too good
to
to
be
be
to
here.
be here.
He looks like a top pick.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't thinking number one.
Yeah.
Watching the game, because I had watched some games before that. It's like this guy's a first round pick
Yeah.
because he makes it look easy. Hey, we know football. But anyway, so with Jaxson Dart, I think coming in, I think he was like QB 8 or something. I didn't understand that
Yeah.
because I felt like he can play. And I felt like being under Lane Kiffin, like he actually knows football. He knows scheme and he knows what to do against certain coverages. So coming in, I always figured he was QB 3, like the Riley Leonards, the
Hmm.
yeah, like I really never the what's the guy from Ohio State? Will
Will Howard.
Howard.
He's not a pro.
I'm like, like he Jaxson Dart is better than them.
Yeah.
And I watched him in the SEC for the last 3 years. Like he can make some
He can make
throws.
some
So
throws.
QB2, absolutely not. And even if you thought Cam Ward was QB1, I'm sorry, Cam Ward was QB2, he's not better than Cam Ward either.
No. No. Yeah. I don't think. I mean, I'm obviously Shedeur is QB1 for me. Cam Ward is by far QB2 to me. I think Dart is 3. I'm fine with him being 3. I don't know where the
Yeah,
discourse
yeah,
between him or Shedeur being 2. We watch a lot of college football. Jaxson Dart, big time guy, can make some throws, dual threat capabilities. He's not on the same level as Shedeur. After those 3 though, this quarterback draft gets really nasty.
it's terrible.
This
That's
draft gets
nasty.
really nasty. And so I'm like, look,
It's
everybody's
nasty.
everybody's like, oh, well, the first pick is gonna be Abdul Carter and second will be Travis Hunt. If you want a quarterback, you better get into that top 3.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
So like, and I think that's one of them, and bring it full circle. That's one of the reasons why I'm most intrigued about this offseason is you got 2 really generational talents in Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter.
Listen,
And it's
and
like
they're going to go 3-4.
they might go 3-4. And that's the thing with like Tennessee and Cleveland. It's like, well, dang, we both desperately need quarterbacks, but we got basically okay. I don't want to say somebody's Lawrence Taylor. That's too.
I no, that yeah, I get it.
But
I
I'm
get
just
it.
saying, go look at some YouTube clips of Lawrence Taylor, and then right after that, look at some of Abdul Carter, and you'll see the resemblance. Is all I'm saying. Just go do it before you try
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
throw tomatoes at me. I ain't saying Abdul Carter is going to be Lawrence Taylor. That's one of the best players in the history of the game. But he's a generational talent off the edge. Travis Hunter, a
Yes, yeah,
generational talent at both corner and wide receiver, I think, and I think he'll play both sides. So do you go with one of those guys and be like, all right, well, maybe we'll get our quarterback later. Next year, we'll get a bridge with a Kirk Cousins or a Russell Wilson, and then we'll take our chances at whoever the hell is in this class next year. Because, like, I'm not drafting Quentin Ewers, Jalen Milroe, Riley Leonard, or Cal McCord. You can have that one.
yeah.
Um, and because like if I'm Tennessee too, I'm going to be bad next year regardless.
Right, right,
Maybe I just grab
right.
Abdul Carter and be like, all right, we're gonna suck for Arch Manning. Here we go.
So, and that's the thing. It depends on how like their outlook, their front office, like what they're thinking. Because, like you said, if we're going to be bad next season, let me get an elite edge.
Yeah.
You remember what was that? '05, the Reggie Bush, Mario Williams
Oh
year.
yeah.
So Houston is like, why am I going to grab a running back? They don't win me
What
games.
am I do with that?
Let me get an elite edge guy for the postseason because I'm probably not going to be playing at home. I got to play in the elements. Let me get an elite edge guy.
Yeah.
So that's what they're thinking. Um, but yeah, Tennessee, like not necessarily saying you roll with Will Levis. Hey man, go get you a vet. Go get you a, money heist.
Go get your
Go
money
get you
out.
somebody for 1 year,
Yep.
but you get your elite edge guy for 10
Yeah.
years. And then, all right, or get Sam Darnold.
Go get.
Come on now.
That's a good pickup,
Go
right?
go get Sam Darnold. He can that's a bridge guy.
A bridge guy.
And if you like him, hey, keep him. And but you have your elite edge guy. So I'm thinking Cleveland and Tennessee should do this. If I'm doing, or they just not stay in that 1-2 spot and they trade out.
Yeah.
So I mean that's what I'm thinking.
No, I mean that makes sense, especially for I'm not normally a guy that's like, okay, well, next year's quarterback class is better because those quarterback classes changes. Like we think next year's class
Yeah,
is better with Arch Manning and Lenore Sellers and Garrett Nussmeier, but Sellers may drop back,
they,
Nussmeier may not have the year we think, so on and so forth. I
right.
think Arch's going to be the number one pick regardless. I don't think that's going to change. He should have been starting for Texas. That's a different conversation. We'll talk about Sark later in another episode, but I do think you have that conversation when you have, like I said, two generational talents at the top. Like if these were just like, all right, good pass rusher that projects as a decent starter who might get 9 or 10 sacks a year, cool. Solid corner who projects as, maybe a one-time all pro with a few Pro Bowls, cool.
Mm-hmm,
You're not looking at that. You're looking at guys
mm-hmm.
who, like, I expect Abdul Carter to be a perennial all pro. I expect Travis
Yeah.
Hunter to be a Hall of Famer. And I don't think that's crazy to say. Um,
So you mentioned Lawrence Taylor. You know what? You should have just stayed with the same school and just said Michael Parsons.
ah,
Like because that's who he looks like.
yeah, same number, no,
And like same number and all. But we saw the impact Michael Parsons had immediately.
immediately from day one.
Immediately it changes that defense. So who knows what they're gonna do? Because sometimes NFL teams just overthink.
Sometimes they overthink and do stupid stuff.
And Tennessee, you don't sell tickets like that anyway.
No, they got a new
So
billion
what's
dollar
more
stadium though.
they do? And so people are gonna come
They're gonna
regardless.
come anyway.
Go get your edge guy.
And like, look, if you actually want to win a Super Bowl, you're gonna have to beat Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow,
That's
and
what
Josh
I'm
Allen to
saying.
do it.
That's so do you bet on a quarterback that do you really believe that those two can be better than those 4 or 5?
Right. No,
Now, if you do, go get your
you
guy.
can go get it.
But
Exactly.
if you don't, go get an edge guy.
That's the thing. In the
Well,
AFC,
the edge guy.
that's like that has to be your equation for the next 5, 7, 10 years. Like, do we
That's what I
think this guy can be not even necessarily as good, but maybe just a notch below those other four guys? Because if not, then like, all right, if I have as many holes as I have with Tennessee or Cleveland, I gotta go get these generational talents that can make plays to make up for how much better that other team's quarterback is gonna be in January. So like, cool. If you
right.
if you think Shedeur can be Lamar, okay, take him. I'm okay with that.
Take him.
Right. But if you don't think that, you gotta take Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter. And we went draft crazy here. But
I mean, this is the highlight of the offseason draft and free agency. Like, I love that stuff. I can't wait. Offseason hasn't started yet, but draft, like I can't wait till next month.
I can't wait till Nick Bolton signs this 5 year, $76 million deal with the
Oh,
Jaguars.
I can't wait. Bro, you have your rings. Go get
Go get
paid.
paid, brother.
Go get paid. Let them draft somebody else and build him up, develop him. Let it take a little while. Go get paid,
Go
Nick.
get paid. See, that's how much we like. I can't wait for a linebacker to go to go get paid in the offseason. Um,
Man.
hey, we got to talk about this one, man. I've been having this conversation with folks, so I'm interested to get your opinion. Who was the bigger loser at
Okay.
Super Bowl 59? Patrick Mahomes in the so-called GOAT argument, or Drake in just all of his existence?
You know what? I'm going Patrick Mahomes, but let me tell you why.
Yeah,
So for me, this Super Bowl was fantastic.
it was amazing.
I got to see Patrick Mahomes struggle, having less than 50 yards passing, I believe, before halftime, and just look terrible. I only saw Taylor Swift
I
once
know, right?
the entire game. Kelsey looked old, and I love that. I love the halftime show, and I'm a guy where I'm like, you know what, Kendrick is just he's too deep for me to see anything for the first glance. So the next day, all these think pieces are going to come out, and I'm gonna look at everything
Right.
because I want to see. Now, people say his only problem is he doesn't make a lot of stadium music. So as far as if you're looking for concert vibes, you're not getting that with Kendrick Lamar
No.
because he only has 12 minutes, which I was fine with because I know what type of artist he is. Um, him, you know, teasing us with the not like us. So I like the Serena edition, even though she's too old. I would be pissed if I'm her husband. That's another story. Because why are you still worried
Why are you
about your
still thinking
ex? You
about your
got
ex, yo?
you have me.
I
So
started Reddit.
another story, another story. But um, the teasing, him actually saying it. So I said before the Super Bowl that he would perform it, but he wouldn't say the PDF part.
Mhm.
He wouldn't say that part. I thought that was going to be it. Can't just say, you know what, I'm about to do me. I don't care.
Yeah.
So I love every bit of that. But at the end of the day, it's Drake. And this is not coming from like a Drake stan. I just know Drake is Drake, and people love Drake, and he's not reputation wise. Yes, like he lost a lot,
Yeah.
but people love his music. I like pre 2017 Drake.
Yeah.
That's all. After that, I don't listen to him. So I still listen to his old stuff. So he's getting streams from me too. But for his fans, whatever he comes out with, he's gonna play.
Yeah.
So for a monetary standpoint, he's never gonna lose money. He's always gonna be popular. He's gonna make another dance hit, this summer probably, and we're not gonna forget. But it's the fans are gonna be like, you see, he came back from this. He's the GOAT. He can do whatever he wants. So, and that's on that you know, thinking about it through that lens, that's why I say Patrick Mahomes is the bigger loser
Yeah.
because the end of the day is Drake.
Yeah.
I don't like it, but I'm thinking about it that way.
Yeah. I hear you. I think they
He
equally.
definitely took a big L.
He did take a big L. I'm gonna say they're equally losers.
Yeah.
like, like I don't want to have to pick. I seen a meme of them two, like both crying. Somebody made it a cartoon illustration, and I absolutely
I
love.
should have seen that.
I
Yo,
love.
the AI is getting out of
It is
control.
getting a little out of control though. Like we got to put some guardrails on this stuff, man. Where's Congress when you need them? Anyway, different conversation. I so the A minor chain is wild. Where where that
Wild. I saw the A. I said, I looked over the tape. I said, what the A stand for? Just being oblivious, like I don't know the song. And then I'm like, oh my
the
God,
A minor chain
lowercase
is
a
wild.
is nuts.
Oh, like this man has shown me that I'm not pettying. Like I'm not petty enough.
I'm not petty enough. I don't hate enough.
I don't. I gotta hate some more. Like, like I'm not hating on people enough. I'm not calling folks out enough. I'm not monetizing like the way people have treated me enough. I'm like, dang, I gotta take it to another level. I got a whole other gear I gotta switch into. The A minor chain is wild. 65,000 people screaming A minor.
Now I do think that was piped up.
Okay.
I do think it was a little piped up. Falcons got in trouble a few years ago piping up state. I do think that was a little piped up, but the point remains the same.
Game over lit up at the end.
Yeah, that was a nice
Like
touch. That was
crazy.
a nice
TV off
touch.
last. It's just I don't know. I guess this is the longest victory lap I think I've ever
So
seen.
let me ask you this: do you think he as in Kendrick? Like, do you think he's carrying it on too much?
No.
Or do you think it's just like, he kind of got away from it, but he had to perform it at the Super Bowl?
Yeah. I don't think he's carrying it too much because of the way in which he got baited into it.
Yeah,
I go back to the beginning of this. He tried to stay above the fray. It was like, "I'm not
yeah,
entertaining this. Like, I don't wanna talk to you. Like, we're not on the same level." Like, he tried to be the bigger man. This is bringing this full circle. This is exactly why we say "F that humble stuff," because he tried to be humble and be above the fray and be the bigger man. And then you get a nigga whose Twitter name is Champagne Poppy talking about some subtweeting and first person and all this other stuff. And it's just
yeah.
like, okay. It's like that scene in Why Did I Get Married Too? Where Buddy is like, okay, let's do it. Like, So I think if he had escalated it, then it would be like, all right, bro, like time to move on. But and I feel like there's a collective conscience among us. It's like the fact, like we all know, like, Drake, you egged this on, bro. Like, you egged it
Yeah.
on. You literally asked for it. He was trying to stay above the fray, ride his bike on the beach with no phone, stay in his house and mind his business. Like, he was trying to
Yeah,
keep doing what he was doing. So you got Meet the Grams, Euphoria, and then the song of the year, quite literally, like just shattered it, and you're done, right? So and then he beat you at your own game with the pop hit,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
made an album taking a victory lap. So, no, if any other situation, I would be like, all right, bro, like let it rest. It's like you up by 45, you still shooting threes. Like you're
It's
being trifling.
so yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. So I was having this conversation with a Drake fan, and there's Drake fans, there's Drake stands, there's people who are a fan of Drake music. Like I said, I'm a fan of pre-27 Drake music, so I can, I'm not ashamed to say that. Like that was my most streamed artist of last year because, like, from Take Care, Nothing Was the Same. All of that, I like that,
Beast.
but um I was telling him, like, bro, do know this has been like a silent, subliminal thing for like the past 10
Oh
years,
yeah.
right? Like they've both taken shots at each other. And there's an interview out with Marcellus Wiley. I don't know if you've seen it, where he said in like around 2013, I don't know if it's pre-control verse or after the control verse, Drake came on Sports Nation and they did an interview, and he was dissing Kendrick in the interview.
Mm,
And something happened. I think Drake hosted the ESPYS that year, and they basically said, if y'all aired that, then ESPN, I'm not hosting the ESPYS.
mm.
So you can look this up on YouTube. I think it was a Vlad TV interview with Marcellus Wiley. I don't know why he would make this elaborate story up. I don't know, but so that's when it started, and it's just been subtle shots back and forth with each other, at each other. And I guess Kendrick said, "You know what? Nah,
I'm
you're
tired
not
of
going to
this.
act like
Yeah.
don't bring me in with y'all too." Like I don't think he had this problem with J. Cole, but don't try to have buddy buddy now
Hmm.
when we both know we don't like each
Right.
other. So yeah, like
This whole big three no, these niggas not on the same level. Like from a pop stuff, like no, they're not on the same level. Like period. Like J. Cole has found himself inching into the conversation. Let's be real, because of an endless stream of features. But
yeah,
album concept, lyricism, album to album, he's not sniffing Kendrick's jockstrap either. Like, you
he's
can be
not.
a stan if you want to, but like, no. Drake, pop hit after pop hit. Cool, great. He gonna make something that your girl loved or something, right? You're gonna dance to it, and that's cool,
Yes,
right? I love it, right? Because I know I'm going home with my girl, so that's cool. But like, we don't
he has
make
a
this
collab album with P&D coming out tomorrow,
great,
and I'm gonna listen to
great. Can't wait.
it.
Going stream. It's Valentine's Day weekend. It's gonna get spins, right?
Yep,
But that's who you make music for. And like,
exactly.
and I think that's the issue. Like, that was always the reason why this was never like Kendra's like, I'm trying not to engage with this because I know that we're not on the same level. I know that we don't make the same kind of music. And that's the thing. Like, if you
And
want,
that's fine.
that's fine. That's fine. But like, you came at the king on some street cred lyricism, poet, I'm the best type stuff. And that ain't cool.
Yes.
Like if you want to say you got more streams and you got more quote unquote club hits and
Absolutely,
like
you
like
do.
you don't walk with no like your old lady, you don't get in the car and bump, Eminem with your old lady. I don't know if you seen that Gucci Mane video. Then that's different. That's different. But
Yeah.
you didn't come at it like that. And that's the reason I'm
Yep.
like, nah, yeah, it ain't too much. He up 50. Keep shooting threes. Keep pulling up from 35 feet, bro. Ain't got no shame about it.
Yeah, that's can you hear me? I'm good. I'm good.